Hey guys, welcome to Faith Friday. This week we have Nathan VanVlymen, one of our 7th grade small group leaders, sharing with us. Let's listen to what he has to say.
Hello everybody, my name is Nathan and I'm one of the 7th grade guide leaders on Wednesday night, and I am super excited to share God's Word with you today. You see, for me, one of the hardest parts about being a Christian is actually figuring out what does it mean to be a Christian. I mean, I understand Jesus and what he did on the cross, and I've chosen to follow him and be a Christ follower. But it's what my life should look like now that I've chosen to follow Christ that gets me stumped. Especially during these times of trials and hardships, when things don't make sense and it feels like my faith is being tested, I sometimes get stuck on what do I do next? What's my next right step? As a Christ follower, what should my life look like during this time? Well, I want to share something with you guys from James chapter 1. James is a great book on what it means to live life as a Christ follower. If you're ever confused, it's only 5 chapters long. I encourage you to read it at some point. Well, I'll be sharing with you guys James chapter 1 verses 2 through 4. Count it joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds, for you know that testing of your faith produces steadfastness, and let steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. So at the beginning of the verse, it's kind of hard to make sense of it. Count it joy when you meet trials. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, because trials I think of as a very negative thing. Like, who wants trials in their life? And joy I think of as something incredibly positive. Of course I want joy. So how are those two ideas related? So when you dig into the verses, you kind of begin to see that it's not the trials that are the big point here. It's what comes from the trial. You see, first off, it says trials produce steadfastness. Now, steadfastness is kind of like an antiquated term, it feels like. I've never heard anyone describe someone or something as steadfast. What it means is the patient endurance of something, or consistency. The consistency and perseverance of what? In this verse, it's referring to our faith, right? These trials produce patient endurance in our faith. It produces consistency in our walk with God. Now, that's still not the end all of the verse. That's not what's supposed to bring us joy. Continuing, it says that this steadfastness, in its full effect, will produce perfection, completion in our life, and that we will lack nothing. Now, those are 3 things that I can get behind and be joyful about. Even more, if you skip a handful of verses and move on to verse 12, it says, "Blessed is the man who remains steadfast under trial, for when he has stood the test, he will receive the crown of life, which God has promised to those who love him." I don't know about you, but perfection, completeness, lacking of nothing, and being blessed with the crown of life, those are things I can take joy in. So when our faith just doesn't make sense, or there's things around us that just seem to be testing us, all that we are asked to do is to be steadfast. Because when we live our faith with consistency and we follow God with endurance, we draw near to him, and when we draw near to God, we get the things that he promised, that perfection in our life, that completion. Who doesn't want to lack for nothing? And that just comes from being steadfast in your pursuit of God throughout all things, no matter what's going on. So when there's stuff in your life that's going on that just does not make sense and you feel tested, just pray and ask God for this steadfastness in your life. Pray for the consistency to follow him. And in doing so, you can have joy in what that steadfastness produces. And when you know what that steadfastness produces, it is possible for you to find joy in your trials. All right, guys, thanks for listening today. I hope you guys have a great week, and I hope you guys remain steadfast in your faith. Thank you guys for listening.